Welcome back. Massive apologies for the technical delay. We just needed to switch servers, and now we're back, and I think everyone is ready to get into the game. Thank you very much for everyone in the chat for being very patient, but hopefully, fingers crossed, without jinxing anything, we can get the games underway very shortly. Once again, my name is Talha. I'm joined by the Saint, and we're going to be bringing you all the Nation Royale action from the Southeast Asia region. First game up is Thailand versus Cambodia, and I can already see in the chat that everyone is whooping for Thailand. But let's just go straight into the scoreboard and see our teams and generals once again.
Yeah, as we've already talked about, we have the sort of the core in the Thailand roster made up of Myth and the AG players that realistically should be the ones franking out. But can we see teamwork from that Cambodian roster, which, although it is less stacked, still there's a lot of players in there with competitive experience. And if they can play well together, they have a good shot of winning this.
Yeah, it's all about your teamwork and how well the generals can kind of micromanage every single little squad that they're creating there. You can see down in Thailand, number 12, that is the general, Guns and Fair. And somewhere in number 30 was Robot. For the general for Cambodia. But we're underway. Here we go. 32 versus 31. Unfortunately, one person from Thailand hasn't been able to connect, but we are on Erangel for the first map of this best of 5. And let's see which way the map gets split in half, Sane.
Yeah, and immediately we're seeing Thailand go for sort of that Milta Power, Sosnovka area. I'm curious whether they will bother going to the island, given that they know it's safe because they can see that no one's dropping there. But are we going to get a fight in Pachinki? I think we are. But I'm looking at that, and there's like 7-8 Thailand players versus pretty much half the Cambodian roster.
Are they going to see that that's not their team and then just bug out of that? I mean, it's interesting to see that you can see Cambodia are kind of going for a massive...
It's going to be chaos.
Oh, it's going to be juicy. Let's go. Right. So
grab whatever you can find.
We got Cambodia in the south of Pachinki. We've got the entirety of the rest of the Thai roster on the northern side. We see a knock already going down. Jay finds Druk Prey, and he's kind of down, but he's safe. And he's got the rest of his team there to kind of help out. And this is the thing with Pachinki. It's very close quarters, but then you've got a massive gap in the middle, which is kind of a death trap if you run through. So it's all about the flanks. And you can see Joman, he's already going on the flank to help his little brother out there. God, well, it looks like the Cambodia team, they're getting all the knocks and... Okay, good. We haven't crashed. They're getting all the knocks and the flushes as well.
Yeah, the 3 Cambodian players already knocked. One is down. I think actually we've lost 2 already now. No, we've lost 1. 2 are knocked. So it's looking a little bit rough as this Thai group, even though they're outnumbered, are starting to equalize down to 29 already. So we've already lost players. I said it's normally slow at the start, but this Pachinki drop has changed things up.
Both the players, oh dear, we've had a little bit of a run over, but both the teams decided that they want to take Pachinki. And to be fair, when you don't know what the circle's going to do and you've got an insane amount of players, getting the central point in the map is vital for the rotation, and you can pretty much rotate anywhere that you want. So this fight is very important, but it looks like Thailand, they're going to try and outflank the flank that Cambodia is currently on. Oh, sorry, I was looking. Okay, the thing has changed. So Thailand are actually in the lead, and they have taken out 2 members of Cambodia. Cambodia started with
down
1 first person. Yep, split 8 HP.
8 HP in a dream. He's got a first aid though, so he can get it back up. But I mean, we did see that Thailand were outnumbered. You know, they had, I think it's like 8 or 9 players versus nearly half of that Cambodian roster. Mm-hmm. But we were saying that the Thai rosters, generally speaking, they have more experience, probably at a higher level in PUBG. So you'd expect it's going to be a pretty fair fight. But if Cambodia can come out of this, clearing out Pachinki, there's a great chance for them to really push a gap. And we've seen historically in Nations Royale, if you can get like a 3-4 kill gap, it's very hard for the other team to come back.
Yeah, you need to have that one player that just goes insane. And what a lovely watch there. Of course, Boo Watches is the official timekeeper of the GLL Nations Royale and is telling us that the blue zone is now coming in. That is insane. I love that. Okay, and you can see the circle already popping out there. It is going to be in the eastern region, the southeastern region of the mainland map. And we can see Thailand taking down more players, but not so long before another player gets knocked. See Spooky.
Yeah, I want to see some of these Thai players from the south come and join in. Because if they can collapse and clear out this area, they're pretty much killing half the Cambodian roster off.
Oh, dear Lord. It's not going well for Thailand at the moment as Cambodia kind of stop the initial flank on Pachinki. And now Svit, as you can see on your screens, is on the opposite side, flanking with the rest of the Thai roster. He's on his own. I think they're backing out of this. Svit's by himself.
we were saying before the game that really that individualistic play just doesn't work in Nations Royale because you just walk into like 8 players. So Savit's style, we said maybe that was the sort of thing we might see from Thailand, where they split up because they have that confidence. And it looks like for now it's not necessarily paying off because Cambodia's got a lot of knocks. They haven't really managed to flush much. They've only got 2 kills, but they've got a lot of players in a really rough predicament. I want to see that Thai group to the southeast that's not in Pachinki come and join in and try and get that man advantage back. Because if they can have the man advantage coming into that, you have to think they'll be able to win the fight.
Oh, the drop shot onto Svit, and it works. How on earth did it work? Indent takes out Svit, and they secure that side of the flank. Furthermore,
are we playing a different game? Drop shotting in PUBG. That was beautiful. Svit taken out on his solo play as rough, and now Thailand's running away. They're escaping. They're not in a great position to take that gunfight, and I think this is where we're seeing that sort of style, the teamwork of Cambodia come through and equalize what looked necessarily like a strength disadvantage.
Yeah, look at that. They knew, right, we need to make sure that we can't be flanked from either side. They kind of split up. They focused on one flank and they came back around. And Indent on his own, actually, secured the other side of the flank. And Thailand now forcing themselves out of Pachinki.
We've just got one guy going on his own.
Yeah, Narada.
He's not got the memo.
Oh, dear Lord, they're all lining up for him. He sees them, gets the headshot and runs.
That's exactly what we're saying. How you go into a fight and in your head you're expecting like 2 players because you're so used to like squads, and you turn the corner, there's just 8 guns pointed at you. Like what is he ever going to do against that house with what is that 7 people in the same house? There's nothing you can do.
Okay, well, it looks like the Thai reinforcements are coming. Lucia.
They're actually going for the fight. I think they're going.
The bug out vehicle. Right, get in. We'll save you. Come on.
It's the medevac right here.
Okay, so this is a good fallback position. You can see the front line of Thailand now is on the inside of this circle. Eventually, the circle is going to close, and Cambodia in Pachinki will have to leave. So you can see Thailand already setting up to make their lives a lot harder when the next circle does pop. What wonderful pants!
very bright. But, I'm not sure what's going on right now. Exchanging clothes. Nordra has it. I think she has one of the rare shirts. They want to swap. He got stolen. That green jumper is gone.
Love it. This is what I love about Nations Royale. It's people take it seriously, but it's also we're just having fun because this is just outrageous. You can see the squad already. 1, 2, 3 players have dropped for Thailand, and Cambodia, even though they started 1 player less coming into the game from a disconnect, they have evened the player count coming into the first stages of the game. And I think they're going to bug out.
These first few minutes of the game are a perfect example of exactly what Nations Royale is. It's chaos, but there's what's the phrase? My head's gone.
Well,
the structures of the chaos.
While you think of that phrase, the next circle has popped and shifted eastward.
Oh, that's a Cambodian circle if I've seen one.
Holy moly, no one from Thailand's in it. Cambodia already has a little platoon in there, and they've got first pickings. Look at this. They can take whatever position they want, and I think they might have sussed out that the entirety of Thailand are going to be very late into this rotation. And if KH there can take him and his little vehicle a bit further in, they can grab whatever position they would like. Oh no, wait, sorry, this is Pachinki that I leave. Oh, okay, right.
This is the little the bug out team from Pachinki. They only have 1 vehicle, so I think they're now looking for more because otherwise they're going to have to run all the way. But something historically we've seen in Nations Royale is the map control is really important. And the fact that this circle has gone all the way over to Cambodia, giving them a lot of time to sort of set up in the middle of the map, make sure that the Thai roster can't get a lot of control and sort of relegated. I think that road that we see sort of in the middle of the map is really important. If Cambodia can take control of that road and force Thailand to stay on the west, they're in a really good position to potentially win game 1.
Yeah, you can already see Cambodia. They're going up by Lumber, where Prison is, by the rocky area. They're getting the high ground as early as possible. And that position where most of the Cambodian team is well wide the road. They've got a little compound over there, the compound across the road. You can see Thailand just going straight past it. They've got all this information. They can see everything. The circle shifts downwards. And this might be good for Thailand, in fact, because they've had to go from the south to get into this next circle, and the circle's gone south.
Yeah, but that's where I wanted to see Cambodia set up on the road. But because they fell off and they gave Thailand an opportunity to get into the circle, now there's this opportunity that Thailand could do the same. If they could take control of the edge of Milta and the monkey compound, as it's called, on the eastern side of the map, realistically, as soon as the circle comes south, there's nothing the Cambodian roster can do about it. So you see now this core of the Thai team is all moving in around that Milta area, making it their own. But you also have that little group on the south that's going all the way around. And that map control is going to be crucial. But we're starting to lose Cambodian players now. The ones coming from Pachinki are dying to the zone because they just don't have any vehicles. The Thai team just took the vehicles to the left.
Unfortunately, and this is actually terrible for Cambodia. It looked like it was going to go well, but because they don't have all their players there, whereas you can see Thailand, they do. The entirety of the Thailand roster is in that circle. Cambodia, they're kind of whittling and falling apart. The Nox are going out into the blue zone. They need to get in. There aren't any vehicles. Maybe they might have a little taxi service running back and forth to try and get the troops in, but you can see the Nox are still coming out. And this is giving Thailand all the time that they want to secure their flank further east towards Milta Power. 27 for Cambodia, 26 in fact, while Thailand have 29. There we go. Blue zone takes yet another.
Yeah, and that's we were speaking about how like a 3-4 man advantage is actually really big in this. It's roughly 10% of your roster, but it's more than 10% of your ability to take map control, your ability to win gunfights, because now you're always going to be at that man disadvantage when you take the fights. And Nations Royale is all about those trades. You're trading 1-for-1 all the time. We saw that in Pachinki, where one guy would run in and get a kill, and then the other player there trades the kill, and both go down, and then it equalizes. But as soon as you start losing players with no return, that's when it sort of swings out of your favor, and the other team can start to snowball to the victory.
See, very interesting here. We've got a little Thai squadron who have a very forward point that Cellar Pro was shooting at, and oh dear lord, getting picked off by pushing out a bit too much. That's Tino PPT getting picked off. We've got an AWM already in the hands of Sal Dazal. And it's very scary for Thailand. They want to get more map control and they're pushing up. I mean, it could have just been a little scouting force, but you can see Rains and McKenzie, they've got Cellar Pro down who's just standing in the open and Baby South. So they are trying to trade efficiently, but Cambodia eventually will have to push on southwards towards the buildings of Thailand.
Yeah, there was a little bit of an overextension from the player that ran out in the open, but those little compounds that we see Miniru and co in are so good for controlling this area, because not only are they the only hard cover in that area, they also have really good vision of the hills around. So Cambodia is now forced to play on the northern edge. And as soon as that circle comes south, which we know it will do because it always ends towards that field, as soon as it comes towards them, there's just really nowhere for the Cambodian team to go. They have to make a Hail Mary play into these compounds. Even though it looks like that whole center of the map is fairly empty and there's room for Cambodia to move into, there's really no cover there. So Thailand now has so much control, and realistically, Cambodia has to make a push and has to make a Hail Mary play soon. Otherwise, the game's just going to go out of their hands.
You can see Cambodia, they're kind of just being squeezed into that top left corner of the circle. We've got a few players trying to see what's happening on their flanks. You can see Jokerman all the way out there in the east trying to push in, but there is literally no cover, and especially on the hill. Thailand have all the buildings that they can get, and they've pushed up even forward, so no crashes can come into Milta. And the only effective place for Cambodia to play is either the hill, where they are very exposed, or go into the fields of Milta. And look at this, Gems aggressively pushing the watchtower. And Thailand, they're just collapsing on Cambodia as much as they can. So
this might be a bit of over-aggression. If they come up in these duos and they get punished, that 5-kill lead can easily become a 23v23, or potentially even swing into Cambodia's favor. So although Thailand do have this so much more control of the map, they need to be careful that they don't start to overextend and don't start losing players.
Oh, but I think it looks okay. Look at the minimap. You can see Thailand, they're pushing up in a line. Okay, serious. Finds one, he sees a second, and actually this doesn't look like it's going that well. I thought maybe because they're pushing up in a line they can effectively trade, but seriously, he looks like he's going to fall very shortly. What on earth are you doing, Jeff? You're not here, the bullet's next to you. He falls, but Konaxi finds that refrag, and unfortunately for him, he gets knocked on top of the wall, so it's just refrags coming out of each other.
Yeah, and that's great for Thailand because they already have the man advantage. They can just continue to trade for the win. We need to start seeing the Cambodian team get kills without the return coming in. And look at that map control now. Cambodia have like 20% of the circle. And realistically, it's just a shooting range for Thailand. The kill feed is all in their favor.
Yeah, it is absolutely chaos. Grenades going out. You can see Thailand, they've got themselves another one. Cambodia trying to get a knock, but can't convert that into a flush. The circle does go north. Cambodia does not need to push, but Thailand, look at the aggression they're showing. They're just moving up. It's just an exterminating squad.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be much longer in this game, the Cambodian team. They're starting to fall apart. They do still have control of the high ground, which can be an advantage. But the fact that that circle is so limited for them is such a rough one. But they're spotting these individual players that are making pushes. If they can get them down, they can bring that kill feed back in their favor.
Indeed, they can. You can see Thailand grabbing themselves another couple of knocks, but they need the shots to connect. Easy. The shots that connect are on its head. Scott comes in, gets it, goes out, and someone from Thailand has them 249. Finds R. Oh dear Lord, Cambodia still pushing down the hill, getting peppered. Meanwhile, Thailand, they're pushing up, and if that Thai squad over there on the western side can wipe out Cambodia, they've got the flank, and the rest of the team gets pincered. 15 kills already for Thailand, and Duckmans is going insane as he gets 3 knocks.
We were saying how we usually see teamwork, but Duckman's decided to put the team on his back. He's got like 5-6 kills already. He's going off. And it's only 6 players left for Cambodia. It went from, I think it was 28 to 23, all the way down to 25-5. As the Cambodian team just got picked off one by one. And I think we know the winners of game 1 here.
They really are trying. 23 versus 4 at the moment. Duckman's knocks from
Moya. His teammate. Oh, no.
Oh, dear Lord. There we go. It is just, let's finish them up. 2 alive. How much damage can they do? Also, Just Moments going in. Oh, right. No,
on his own teammate, yeah. What's going on? Last player alive, Spooky. Can he at least get a couple kills? Obviously, kills don't matter. It's all about winning the map.
No, he just needs to wait. He just needs to wait. Thailand might.
They're killing each other. Yeah. He just chills. He might win this with 0 kills. Oh, there he goes.
Oh, no. That's another team kill. Oh, there he goes. Spooky does fall to Rosetta Jr. and Thailand. Oh, dear Lord.
I think more of the Thai roster died to other Thai players than to Cambodia that game. But a pretty dominating first map for Thailand. You saw Duckmans, he only actually ended up with 2 kills, but he had so many knocks. And realistically, the Cambodia's inability to punish those initial aggression pushes, their inability to take that control of the road that I wanted to see, meant that Thailand could get so much control of the circle and from there just dominate the game.
I mean, like, I'd say Cambodia put up a very good fight. It just kind of went south very, very fast, and by south I mean the circle.
Very
fast. You know, it would have been great to see those players from Pachinki kind of make it into the circle. Maybe, I'm not saying that might have been the only reason why they lost, but maybe that would have factored into another favourable reason. But you can just see Thailand, their aggression. They're just like, right, they're all stuck on that hill. We're just going to push in a line, and we're going to go and keep pushing them up that hill. I mean, it's a very ballsy move for them to do, to go, like, take a fight going uphill.
Yeah, we spoke about before the game that the Thai roster did have them more experience competitively. And at least with the players, we know how aggressive they are because we've seen Duckmans go for this 1v3, 1v4 plays in tournaments before. So we were sort of expecting that to come in. And realistically, Cambodia needs to find a way to punish that if they want to win some maps and potentially win this series. Because right there, they let Thailand get so much control of the circle. They let Thailand make those pushes and they didn't punish it. And Thailand just ran away with the game. I think we saw it was 22-0 in the end. And realistically, it should have been something like 25-26-0 if the Thai team didn't start shooting each other.
There we go. Little highlights. Cambodia dropping in on Pachinki. Meanwhile, yeah, this is a little bug out vehicle coming in. See, this worked really well. So they went all over the place. I think, did most of Thailand like drop 4 vehicles around this Pachinki area just in case?
Well, the thing is, they had control of the 2 hard. There's 1 hard spawn in.
They didn't have control of the northern one, did they?
There's no hard spawn in the north. It's soft spawn. So the hard spawn's on the south side of the city, and that's what they had control of. So the fact that Thailand then got control of the vehicles and just decided to escape really screwed over the Cambodian roster. And we spoke about how hard those man advantages were to bring back.
Apparently,
that was a perfect example of it.
Yeah, okay, right. Let's see if we can hear them.
All I can hear is just guns going off. There's so many people shooting at the same time.
I think it'd be good for the next game to see if we can actually jump into the team comms of the teams and see how chaotic it really is. We'll get that fixed, and that'll just add a bit more flavour to the stream. But what a great game. What are we expecting for Miramar, Saint?
I kind of think we'll see the same thing with this Thai roster. Cambodia didn't seem able to punish the aggression of the Thai team. And if they're just allowing Thailand to run over them, then realistically, we're not going to see some close games. But maybe they're learning from the game. Maybe they'll see that aggression and see how they can punish it, how they need to take more map control. And Miramar is a perfect game to do that because of how high those ridges are.
Yeah, and all the death plays. You have covers even in the places where it seems the most flat. That was game number 1 of the Southeast Asia Nations Royale. That was Thailand versus Cambodia. We're going to be moving on to the next map of this best of 5. So don't go anywhere after this short break. Welcome back, ladies and gents. The first game was concluded. Thailand victors over Cambodia on Erangel. And a little update from our other games, Philippines versus Indonesia. Indonesia take game number 1-2 with a staggering 23 kills to 9 deaths. But we're going to be going to game number 2. We're going to be keeping on with Thailand versus Cambodia, and we're going to be going over to sunny Miramar.
Yeah, we were sort of expecting that Indonesia and Thailand would be the two strong rosters, right? They're the two rosters with the most competitive experience, with the players that have the most experience at an international level, with Erangel on Indonesia and obviously Amru Gaming, now Myth, on the side of Thailand. So these first 2 games may not necessarily be that close, but I'm looking at our next match. Straight after this, we're going to have those 2 winners against each other. So that Thailand versus Indonesia match is going to be incredibly fun to watch.
Well, it might be Indonesia. It might be Philippines. We don't know yet. We don't know. Indonesia have won the first game. We haven't quite seen the level of butchery that is going on in that in those games. But 23 kills to 9 deaths is something to speak of. But let's see if Philippines on the other side can bring it back in their favor, just like I'm hoping Cambodia can bring it back in this game so we can see a Vikendi, because I really want to see some train action. I want to see like 30 people on a train. That's it.
I'm gonna make a prediction now. I don't think we're going to see Cambodia win a map. Based off what we've seen from game 1, based off what we know about the 2 rosters, I think this might be a 3-0. But that winners match that we're going to have next, and the losers match that we're going to have on the next broadcast, should be really close games, because you're pitting the 2 teams that lost versus each other, and the 2 teams that won versus each other. So those games should be really close. And when we get to our final, we're going to guarantee a map of Vikendi. So we're going to see it at some point. I would like to see it sooner rather than later, but for now we're on Miramar.
Yeah, Miramar, and you can see where the plane is going to be going. We're going to be starting over there in the east. In a nice little open area, but it's going to be very skewed to the south. 32 versus 32. So all players this time are making it in. Hopefully that might be able to help Cambodia. And the plane's going to be ending up over via Del Mar. I have not casted Miramar I've not casted in a very long time anyways, as I've been taking a break to focus on my studies. But now that's over. Via Del Mar. A very nice place. But if you can get that area, just in case the circle does decide to go over to the prison island, then you've got a good rotation in. And there's only 2 bridges that go there, just like the other one. But you can just
I don't think you're relying on that, yeah. But more consistently recently, we've seen circles either go to the western edge of the map or the southeastern edge. So I'm curious about which team will try and take control of those areas and sort of try and play the numbers. It looks like it's going to be Thailand that gets control of at least the southern side of the map. But if the Cambodian team can take sort of that El Pozo area, we see circles up there quite a lot. They can take controls of those hillside, take more map control than we saw in last game, and potentially do something about it. But once again, we see that group of Cambodian players that are dropping away from the rest of their team. And then this time they're dropping into like 20 Thai players.
Yeah, they're actually flying in the same direction as the Thai players that they are on top of at the moment. And is it going to be Chimasera?
I believe so.
It looks like we're going to have a repeat of Pachinki in Chimasera. Here we go. Thailand, they're landing in first. Cambodia a bit late on their descent, but they have split up and they're going to team up together. And we can see already one building composing of 3 Cambodians and 1
Duckmans.
Thai player. It's Duckmans. He's taken 2 out already. He's got himself barrel. And he's just won that fight straight away. Duckmans doing wonders for his team. We can see Vid Day Zid taking down Nent and Sissy.
He's got 3.
Oh my god, Duckmans gets the 3rd.
We said he was potentially one of the best individual players in PUBG at the minute, and he's proving it already. He's got 3 kills right at the start of the game, dropping on his own, but he doesn't need teammates.
It's an SKS. I thought it was a barrel.
Yeah, no, he's got 3 kills.
He's got 3 kills. He's got something to do with me.
He's got 4.
Okay.
Or was that a flush? It was
I
a
think
flush.
that's a flush.
It was a flush.
He's got
Calm down, Luke.
It's already going in.
Zen.
There we go.
He's going to get like 5 from this. There's another one. He just keeps going. Oh, he's going mad.
He's going to take the entirety of the Cambodia roster out by himself.
He's got 3
He is
bullets.
surrounded. 25
if there's one player you want in this situation, it is Duckmans. We've seen so many times that he can win 1v3s, 1v4s against some of the best teams in the world. So this is a great opportunity for him to just rack up the points.
Right, we're going to actually see what the comms are like for Thailand while Duckmans goes into a 1v2.
Guro ka daw si Krichas ta.
Hopefully it works.
Dapat kan ba sabay-sabay bitaw. Nandun laro ba?
Pag ano na lang oh.
Sa Discord.
Sa unang galagyo oy, pitas diretso.
Friendly paroy.
Ay, Vila ta.
Yo, gamay kigyot.
Krichas lagi, Krichas idol ta. Guro ka.
Na pag first drop pa jud sila dire nako po.
Palag ka oy.
Okay, right. Well, I don't know. I don't know if that worked for you guys on the stream. We could not hear it, but hopefully it did work. Okay, amazing. So those are the comms. And before we went into this comms, we saw Duckmans actually getting another 2 kills before dropping. I think he's done enough work for Thailand.
I'll tell you 5-1's a pretty fair trade. It's already pushed that man advantage up. We're actually seeing other Thai players lose their gunfights. So although he went off, I think he's actually the only player on Thai to secure any kills so far, with all 5 kills onto Cambodia. But that is a perfect example of what a player like Duckmans can do. But the inability for the rest of his teammates to turn up and help out is a great example of how teamwork can trump that individualistic playstyle. And yes, Cambodia has already lost 6 players, but they have got 4 of the Thai players down as well.
Yeah, they have tried to equalize the scoreboard at the moment. It's a 2-player lead is fairly doable at the current moment. But that is all thanks to the work of Duckmans at the moment. We saw Settlers Pro. He took out a few people as well as this Mackenzie and Co are trying to just get out of Chumasera at the moment. Easy comes in, takes the shot, but gets taken down by Esquiluzia. And he has finished off quite nice and easy there. Still a pro doing work with his SKS as well.
Yeah, we've also lost Minu now. So 2 of that myth roster going down pretty early on in this game. There is still that man advantage. And we spoke about how a 4-5 man advantage is where it starts to get really difficult to come back. So as long as they can keep getting these trades, even though they do have that 2-player advantage as soon as Minu gets down. That is great for Joker, man. Showing off as he gets the kill onto Minoru. But that 2-man advantage is definitely something that you can easily come back from. You just have to have one favorable gunfight. And I'm looking at all those individual players from Thailand now, spread out sporadically around Chumasera. If they can just take them down, if they get Hamboya down, get three of the biggest players from that Thailand roster out of the game early, and only have 1-man disadvantage, maybe this is Cambodia's time to win a map.
Hamboya thinks he might be a bit safe, but Dudu Cell, he is close by. He did get tagged up there. Didn't see any Thai.
I think I shot by Steve.
Yeah, I didn't see any Thai people behind him in that direction for him to be shot from the backside. So it's a bit of a friendly fire going in. It's okay.
Yeah, here we see the circle. And, you have to think that Thailand are the team with the circle advantage, but I'm not even sure the circle matters because we've got gunfights going on everywhere. We might have this game ending like circle 2 at this rate.
Yeah, the circle. Nice in center at the moment. We can see Cambodia up there taking the high ground of Picardo, but also Thailand, they're trying to get up and match that high ground at the moment. You can see little stragglers coming out of Los Leones. And also we've got 2 players just following in the shadow of Cambodia from Chumasera. They are actually do you want to be doing that against like 6 people in front of you? There's only 3 of you. Do you want to be giving away your position? I mean,
if you can get a kill.
Yeah,
if you can trade, especially when you have the man advantage, as long as you're trading 1-for-1, you're doing fine, right? You're doing your job for the team. So as long as you can get those knocks, I mean, nothing came in the end. I think they're a little bit too far away to really have an impact. But realistically, that is all your job is now as Thailand. You just make sure you're trading every kill. Make sure you're not losing players for no reason. But we're going to see, I think, a big gunfight happen on this northern hill. We already see the tracers going off in the distance.
Oh dear, yeah, we can. You can see those lovely light show lighting up the sky of Miramar at the moment. Yeah, I know what we're doing, observers. We're following this 3-man bicycle.
I think they're going to go. I think they're going to go pull up on the Thai team because they can come behind. Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. They're going to come behind the Thai roster, and Cambodia looking for that pincer attack onto the main core of Thailand. but it might be too late. The Thailand roster's already pushing into that northern contingent. Already got that knock. Can they get a few more in?
Yeah, Noadra opening things up at the moment with a knock there. A nice, clean, crisp headshot coming in. You can see Thailand, they're pushing in effectively, but they need to be careful because there are still Cambodian players out in the open on their right-hand side, and they haven't quite noticed. Jayers, he does get shot up by Elix. They're going to pull back a bit. And now this bike is getting sprayed down. It's Vit.
Lost one.
And Goodem, they've lost one. Both are pretty low. The bike is on fire. And then
they have like 1 HP between them.
Blow in the general direction. Jokerman, he goes down. And Exit Lang, he stands up and he gets knocked as well. No chance in hell. You're pulling up on the entirety of the Thai roster there.
Yeah, we thought we'd see them come up behind, but instead they tried to pull up on top of the Thailand roster, and that really did not work out. And now the man advantage is starting to swing heavily in Thailand's favor as they successfully countered the pincer attack. And now that little tiny group of the Cambodian team on the sort of south of the ridges is in a really rough spot.
Yeah,
and once they go down, the entire Thai team could just collapse on power grid.
Yeah, four of them just in the middle of Thailand at the moment. Cambodians in the middle of Thailand. I mean, they have been noticed. Yep, Naradra, he has got a knock there on Alpha 9, and he's looking to get another one. Does get the flush while his teammate picks up the flush, stealing some kills there. But now this little Cambodian squad are being completely encircled.
Yeah, and there's just no trades happening in the kill feed. It's all Thailand right now. We see, I think the last 4 or 5 kills have been Thailand, so it's looking really rough for Cambodia. They need to find a way back into this, but this might be the opportunity.
Now you can see Thailand, they're getting pushed a tiny bit by Cambodia at the moment. There we go, Range, they're actually stopping the push.
They're just killing everyone.
2 knocks. Konaxi gets another knock. They're just stopping everyone. We can see Janku, he pushes up. He manages to get a knock as well and getting his teammate up.
That's the first knock
Cambodia can do. Yeah,
that's the first knock from Cambodia in about 5 minutes. It's just all Thailand right now as they just rip apart this Cambodian team. They have 2 times the players now. And really much more than 2 times the chance to win this game. It's looking so rough. Those last 12 players, they need to go huge in this if they want to win on Miramar.
Cambodia have just lost 10 players in the space of 15 seconds there. And now Thailand are in a prime position to just stop any sort of push in this hill. And what I've noticed is Thailand, because they were here first, they managed to get themselves up on a massive rock. And that gives you the advantage of, if you do get knocked, you get knocked into cover, and there's no other way. Range just going over and making sure he can pad his stats and confirm his kills and his knocks that he did get. Neo PPT gets himself an M249 yet again. Managed to do work. More knocks coming in. Inset.
Oh my god.
Indent.
It's a massacre.
Anger. I'm just listing off. I'm reading off a
just listing the kill feed.
Yeah,
it's just all Thailand. They've I think got 20 kills now untraded by the Cambodian roster. They had knocks, but they couldn't get it. They couldn't get the finishes. They've gone. And Thailand just runs over Cambodia 27-0. That might be the biggest wipeout we've ever seen in a Nations Royale game.
It's just mad saying.
It was all started with Duckman.
There's nothing to speak over. They're all done.
Just listing the kill feed.
What can I do?
But that initial play was done by Duckmans was incredible. He got the 5 kills untraded at the start. That opened that man advantage, and from there, that sort of the advantage that you have by just having more guns shooting was perfect to just win the fight and just completely roll over that Cambodian roster.
5 kills, Saint. 5 kills with an MK.
He 1v5.
And a mini Uzi. He 1v5. No, what was interesting is before we went into the comms, you saw his teammate in the warehouse getting kind of peppered by bullets, and he was just like, all right, cool. That means that player's there.
In.
Yeah. We'll run in. One did, takes them out. Easy. Managed to get 3 more before, those 2 before dying. But he's done work. But yeah, I think it was
very one-sided. I think probably the most one-sided game I've ever seen in any PUBG. Like I've never seen a PUBG game be that comprehensive win. Maybe like I'm thinking back like maybe to the 25 kill Navi win that they got in squads game is probably the only comparable thing I can even think of where teams just had that much dominance in the server. But
yeah, TSM's first
slaughter.
TSM's first what was it called? EU game where they got 30 kills.
Oh yeah, that was
dominant.
Crazy. Yeah. But I'm just.
Oh, okay. We've got team comms again over this.
I think that must be the record in Nations Royale. At least matching it. I think we saw a 27-0 in season 2, but especially this. I think this perfectly captures exactly what happened. Right, the Cambodian team just wasn't quite on the same wavelength with the rest of each other. And Thailand was just able to shut them down with better teamwork, with better positioning.
Right.
And just able to completely stop the server.
They've got nowhere to hide. They're trying to hide in bushes.
The thing is, they actually got knocks, so they just weren't able to finish them off. But every time Thailand got a knock, it worked out. Every time they got a knock, they finished off as well. Whereas Cambodia, we saw them get a few kills there. Every time, rezzed. Every time they got that knock, there was no way for them to get the flush. Because I think the Thailand players just outpositioned them, just made sure they had control of the ridges. But I'm quite surprised. Cambodia had control of Power Grid, and they were left.
Yeah, well, I'm starting to think that this is going to end on Sanhok as well, as much as I really want to see a Vikendi. But that was game number 2. What a blast that was, over in less than 15 minutes. Great stuff. That was, oh God, who was it? Yeah, Thailand versus Cambodia. I've already forgotten. Thailand versus Cambodia, game number 2 goes in Thailand's favor. It is a best of 5, but if Thailand win the next one, they're going to be looking to advance in the upper brackets. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be going over to Sanhok next after this break. Hello and welcome back to the GLL Nations Royale. We are covering the Southeast Asia region. We are also following Thailand versus Cambodia, where Thailand have been showing an increasingly dominating force against Cambodia, with their second game on Miramar being taken in their favor with an insane kill ratio to the amount of deaths they had. 27 to 3 deaths. Sorry,
yeah.
all 30 kills to 3 deaths.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible how one-sided that was. And if you go based off the last 2 games, 22 alive at the end of game 1, 27 alive at the end of game 2. Are we going to have all 32 survive in game 3?
Well, I mean, at the start of that game, we saw Dockmans have just the best start possible. Drops in, surrounded by Cambodians, grabs an SKS, kills 2, grabs an Uzi, and then goes on and gets another 3 kills and just takes it further. But right now, we've got the scoreboards up on your screen, and you can see Dockmans with 7 kills over 2 games.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. We spoke about how you need the whole team to turn up. And although Dockmans does have that 7 kills, 26 out of the 32 players on that entire roster have kills in the game. So everyone's been having an impact. And compare that to Cambodia, where you only have 9 players who have actually got kills in the first 2 matches. So although, yes, Thailand have those individual players like Dockmans, like Raxi and Nuodra that are getting loads of kills, but they also have more consistency over the team. And that's why the games are so dominant.
Yeah, and that is very important, especially in a set like this where it's 32 versus 32. But you've got to be more aware of your surroundings. As Cambodia, we saw with a 3-man bike pulling up a bit too centered around Cambodia. Now, before we go on to Sanhok, as you can see the plane flying over from the north western side to the southeastern, a little update on our second game that is currently running as well, which is Indonesia versus the Philippines. Game number 2 goes to Indonesia again with a total kills of 29 and 3 deaths for Philippines. So 3 kills, for the Philippines as well. So 29 to 3. Very dominating games coming out by both Thailand and the Philippines. But now, what do we expect to see on this map, Saint?
Well, this is a map where vision is everything, right? There's so many places you can hide. There's tree cover everywhere. So you need to be fairly grouped up, fairly congested so that you can watch everything. And I'm looking at this and I'm seeing Thailand, how they're all dropping sort of fairly close to each other. Obviously, they have Boot Camp and Paradise. If they can just group up and get control of a large area of their eastern side, if the Seco then comes there, it becomes really hard to push. But because there's so much cover, it's a lot easier to push people on this map than it is on the other 2. So although map control is important, it's a lot easier to break those positions that teams have.
Okay, now while we are going into the game start, we're going to pop into the Team Cambodia comms to see what their communication is like.
Hai team dương pi team នេះ
Này, bay nắng từ lửa rú nó có bán này.
Yeah, the comms there from Cambodia, very calm and collected. Of course, someone has forgotten to have a push to cough button. You can hear, but not much happening at the moment. Yeah, it's pretty much me. Not much happening currently in the comms, but I can assure you it probably gets hectic when there is a fight going down. Thailand having the entirety of boot camp, which is a lot of loot for them as well. You can see everyone getting kind of geared up with their ARs and snipers and whatnot, what they want. And it's a nice central position to rotate. But we saw the circle. It's going to the northwestern island, the entirety of that island. Now,
we could have picked a crazier circle if we tried.
I know, but we saw Cambodia was over there in the top there at Hat In. So they can kind of stop the rotation from the bridge. You can see already a few players of Thailand. Only 2 are on that circle, on the island and within the circle.
I think that big group around Pai Nan needs to move up and help out those little duo, because all they need to do now is stop Thailand from getting on the mainland. If they can do that, it's an easy win for them. They already have control over the northern bridge. They already have people on the southern side of the island. But because Thailand is successfully able to get that little area just to the west of boot camp, they can get control of that. Then half of the Cambodian teams are locked out of the circle.
Jokerman going down very early. The first frag of the game goes to Tino PPT at the moment. And a bit of BM coming out.
Let them know who's the boss. But I love this from Thailand. They recognize they need a way into the circle. So that little group that did land on the island just instantly came down and just cleared it out. So now that entire group around boot camp can just get in. And suddenly that big group on Pai Nan, we see over half of the Cambodian team has no way to get in but to go to that western bridge or to try and fight their way through the main stack of that the Thai team.
Looking at where the arrows are pointing, it looks like they want to be pushing up to try and stop this crossover from Thailand. And you can see they're straggling along there. And Cambodia on the northwestern island as well. They've pushed up. Oh dear Lord, you don't want to have that kind of start. Someone just got knocked by falling.
Slipped. He's had a tumble. But this is a perfect opportunity for Cambodia to get a big advantage here because they're collapsing from both sides. But somehow Thailand is still just getting the kills. Tino's got 3 already.
Yeah, and he's taken out the general. That's Robot out.
Oh, this is already looking rough. As that Cambodian team that's on the south didn't quite get there in time to help out the little group on the north. So now, I mean, there's a great opportunity here for them to clear this area out. Like these players here, Arfex with that knock, if they can push on that and they can clear this area and get favorable trades, then it becomes really hard for the northern contingent of Thailand to move on because that northern bridge is controlled by the main force, Cambodia.
Yeah. Thailand using the vehicles to get over that little bridge as well, a little rickshaw there. You can see these knocks that Arfex did get haven't been converted into kills. Thailand just crawling into cover.
But the knocks are still coming in. They're getting all these knocks and they're not being traded back from Thailand. So this is great for Cambodia. If they can keep doing this, they can keep taking out these players by the bridge. There's a perfect opportunity to maybe win a game. And maybe we will see Vikendi.
Yeah, but look at this. We've got the entire, half of the Thai roster coming in to give supporting fire. And now it looks like Cambodia might be having trouble to crossing into the island as well. They still have the bridge on the backside, but you can see what they have to do. They have to cross where there's no cover or potentially swim. If Thailand clock on, they can get onto that island and cover that bridge off, but they have to be careful because they've got Cambodia on their backside on the high ground shooting them in. You can see Druk Prey. He managed to get one and flushes them out, but he's being pushed by Ross.
Yeah, Thailand was able to get across the bridge, and now these little assault forces are getting across, and they're getting the kills. Cambodia is trading them back, but if Thailand can take out this group, then that whole southern side of Cambodia's team is just locked out. So there's a massive gunfight here. It's a lot bigger than it looks with this 1v1.
Yeah,
because this pretty much chooses. But that knock's perfect. From distance, Ultra Boy comes in and gets the knock onto Rosted, and it saves his teammate, really. And that little assault force from Thailand is taken out. And now, look how many players are stuck around this little area of the map, around this bridge. They're being pushed from both sides.
Oh, Cambodia, they've got a little squad coming up behind them from the Thailand roster. They're going to be pushed from the backside. You can see across the bridge, we've got one part of Thailand holding them off. Well, is that 2, 3, 4 players coming up behind them? And they need to be prepared because that could do a lot of damage.
Yeah, there's only 3 of them, so there's a limited amount they can do, particularly because as soon as you get that initial 1v1, everyone just turns around and kills you. But if they can get some kills without being traded, which is happening right now, as Sixax gets, I think, 2, no, he got 1. Jab got 1 as well. But they are getting these kills, and there's no trading coming in from Cambodia. So despite the fact that Cambodia had that great fight that they fought around this bridge, the kill is still in favor of Thailand.
6X needs to be careful where he's running. He spots out 2 players, gets a headshot, takes him down very low, sees both of them. He's going to follow up with a grenade as well. Job jab. Well, he's got his flush. Guns and fair, the general for Cambodia.
We have to be so careful. We saw 6X get those tags, and immediately he engaged his squad set. He's like, there's 2 there. They're not going to be peeking. But he forgets there's 8 more people there. They were looking at him. He just immediately gets tagged as he runs around the corner. So you have to be so careful with your gunfights. And right now, talking of gunfights, Thailand is just starting to sweep the floor in the kill feed. But the circle is fairly favorable to the main core of Cambodia.
It is indeed. I feel like this team from Painan spent a bit too much time trying to fight Thailand rather than getting across the bridge. And it's looking like it's going to come and bite them in the backside quite strong. You see God Mao, he gets Baby Sal and gets the kill on him. No effective trade coming out on behind. There we go, finally. Svalos managed to get him as well.
That's exactly what they need to be doing. Tino has already got 5 kills. He's going mad. But this is what they need to be doing. They need to be trading these kills. But now, because there's a 7-man disadvantage, they need to be doing more than that. They need to be starting to clear out these areas. We see on the south now that little flanking group from Thailand has been taken out. But not before pretty much the entire roster of Thailand's got on the main island. And meanwhile, Cambodia, half the team's not there.
Yeah, Yankee and Lurker do fall to Duckmans, and Co. Pow and Stellar Pro also fall, and it looks like Thailand, they somehow managed to make their way across onto the island, and they're showing a dominating force as well. Unfortunately, Race does get picked up, but look at that, instantly a trade coming in.
And that's exactly why Thailand are doing so much better, because their teamwork's just much more on point. They're playing together. We see Cambodia splitting off into these little groups of 3 and 4. They just get ripped apart as soon as they get collapsed on by like 8 people from the Thai roster. Or they just meet someone like Duckmans, it just rips them apart. So realistically, the inability by Cambodia to stay as a coherent force is really making this a difficult game for him to win. And now Thailand's already got the 12-man advantage. We need something heroic from the remaining Cambodian players to stop this from being a 3-0.
Yeah, 20 kills as well. Heroic is something that Cambodia definitely need, but it's something that Gems is looking to put himself down in the Hall of Fame for the Nations Royale at the moment as he's pushing up against a lot of people. But he does get spotted out. He needs to fall back. But it doesn't matter because his team on the other side is going to get the guy that was tagging him up. And you can see Jackie already falls. And there we go, another push coming in. Oh dear, finally. Vidazid manages to find Yadi. And he's going to
There's still a chance for Cambodia here because the Thai roster now is starting to split up and take those individual gunfights. If Cambodia can start to win them, maybe there is an opportunity. But you just look there and just how many more Thai players there are compared to the Cambodian roster. And you see the kill feed all in Thailand's favor. It's looking rough.
Well, at the moment, it is still Nox. No hard kills coming in. Well, I say that. Can actually manages to convert his knock into a kill. And look at this. Gems finally made his way up on the hill. He's got the flank going. Finds one. Can't finish him off, but it doesn't matter. It's the only person that's left there. The rest of Cambodia have fallen back. And Thailand, they've already made this into a 23 versus 7. God.
Yeah, but there are still players having an impact. Vidazid's got a fair few kills. Siri steps in with another one.
Is.
I mean, it's very unlikely that we see a 21-7 somehow lose, but it is possible. These individual players, if they can pull off something, I'm looking now. Men's next enemy is going to be Duckmans, so good luck. This is one person you don't want to run into in a 1v1, but he's still winning. But if he can get the drop now that he's been spotted there, he gets taken down. Gem's the one with the kill. Duckman steps in with a flush, 20-6, and realistically, it's less than that. As a bunch of the Cambodian players are knocked. Once again, a pretty one-sided match, but they have done better than the previous 2 games.
Yeah. There we go.
We're just seeing the kill feed every time that Cambodia gets a knock. They just get traded instantly.
Yeah, well,
whereas Cambodia gets the kill, and it just doesn't happen the other way. I think it's a testament to how somehow Thailand's found a way to stay coherent, to stay as a team, despite it being 32 players on one side.
Well, coming in, it's been 11 minutes, 19-4, as Druk Prey also falls by German's Happy. He's managed to get himself a couple of kills in the last 30 seconds. Alpha 9 also falling, and it looks like this is nearing the end for Cambodia. But it is not a knockout for them if they do lose this best of 5 series. They do go down to the lower brackets, and they play the loser of the Philippines versus
Indonesia.
Indonesia. Yeah. That's the country. Philippines versus Indonesia.
I think we do expect that it'll be Cambodia versus the Philippines, Thailand versus Indonesia, but they should both be great games for different reasons.
Yeah,
Thailand and Indonesia. Yeah, Thailand and Indonesia obviously dominated their first 2 games. We've seen with this.
No, what? I was going to say Cancer gets another kill before.
That was tough. But like we've seen with Thailand, Cambodia has not actually got 32 kills across all 3 games. They didn't perform much better this one compared to the other 2, but I think that was more because Thailand was sort of starting to run around as solos to look for kills. We see another one-sided game, and I think the same sort of things happening with the Indonesia-Philippines game. So now that winners bracket game that we're going to have next should be a really close one, but also that losers bracket game between the 2 losers of the series should also be a really close game because they're both teams that are going to be on a more similar level.
10-minute game, same. 10-minute game.
I think we just had 2 in a row, didn't we?
10-minute games. There we go. The first kill that started it all. It looked like Cambodia had the upper hand coming in with a circle, but they are showing a great inability to hold the pushes that Thailand are showing. They're just throwing men at the problem, and it's working. And it's just have better men, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, our whole view of this series, but that Thailand are an extremely aggressive team. All these players are so well known for their aggression in tournaments, and Cambodia just wasn't. What on earth was that? What? That is ridiculous from Norja. I've pretty much 180'd someone.
I think that might have been Spectator.
Yeah, the Spectator does make it look a little bit better than it is because of the.
Yeah, I
can guarantee there's at least 3 people writing in chat that he's not legit. But yeah, it's worth pointing out that the Spectator is a little bit laggy.
That definitely would have been Spectator.
But that was still nasty killed by Norja to finish the game off. But yeah, we set out the Thai roster, given them the more experience, particularly in the international level, and given what we've seen from teams like Army Gaming in the past and with Myth as well. We knew they'd be aggressive coming into this. We knew players like Duckmans would try and play a more individualistic style than we were sort of more used to seeing in a Nations Royale setting. And Cambodia just wasn't able to shut them down. Like, we were in a 5v1 versus Duckmans and they lose it. Like, there's just not much you can do when players like that just go off.
Going into that game, what you said before in the pre-game was, it's you look at the kill distribution of Thailand and all their players are at least getting 1 or 2 kills, if not at least 1. I think that is the biggest difference, being able to win your fights that you go for. If you're not trading, you need to win your fights. And that's basically what Thailand were being able to do. They were winning their fights straight up. And if they weren't winning their fights, they were being traded for it. And that's where the skill level does lie completely. But I'm excited to see. So as soon as we know who the victor is of the other game between Philippines and Indonesia, hopefully it doesn't need to go all right through to all 5 games. As soon as that's done, we're going to be getting straight into the winners game ASAP for your viewing pleasure. So the wait won't be that long. So currently we're waiting for the scoreboard of everything. So we'll find out very shortly as well. And we should be able to see what the maps will be once we figure out who's playing, if I'm right. Well, the map order, right? It's not the same map order.
Yeah, no, it's vetoed. So I think a perfect way to explain why Thailand was so successful is because they had those main players like Duckmans, like Nordra, that were getting those kills. But as soon as those players went down, the players behind them, the sort of maybe the less experienced players, the ones that play at an amateur or lower level in Thailand, they were just able to step in and just instantly get the trade. So not only did you have that aggression from the players, you also had the trading ability from the rest of the team. Whereas on Cambodia, every time we saw a Cambodia player get down, there was in 3 games, maybe 3 chances or 3 times where they successfully traded the kill, or at least got a resin through the whole thing. Every kill was just knock, flush, knock, flush. And realistically, that was why it was so one-sided. But I expect on this next game, given we're going to have 2 teams with a lot of international pedigree, it's going to be a close one.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see what both these teams can do, and with their generals behind them as well. What's also interesting is that I noticed a great sense of problem solving for Thailand as well. It's right, we don't have the circle here on Sanhok. We need to get into it. They already had a little tiny squad come over, clear the area for them to cross over. They're not actually crossing over any sort of bridge. I think that area has like a bit of land that you can still walk on, that you can go across. So, it's that teamwork and the problem solving of what can we do. They're definitely going to be in Pai Nan. They're going to be in all the named places on the map. And that effectively helped Thailand get over onto the island well before that southern Pai Nan team from Cambodia managed to get there. And plus, I think it was also a case of Cambodia not being able to choose the right decisions for them. They took that fight thinking they might be able to win and kind of cut that rotation onto that island. Whereas I think they should have just full rotated, owned the bridge, and gone to the high ground.
I think it's exactly the same as the Erangel match, where they have an area of the map they could control and just lock Thailand out. Like on the Erangel one, if they could take control of the central road, they made sure Thailand was stuck on the west, it would have been a pretty easy win for them, provided they could hold it. The same thing, they had first dibs on the island, they had half their team on the island, they had a third group that could have made it to the island that didn't get there in time, and Thailand were able to just get control of that southern area and just lock down and kill half the team of Cambodia. And because there was another group of Thailand to the north, and the pressure that those players were putting in, the Cambodian team that dropped around Hattin couldn't come down and help out the teammates and pincer the Thai roster, who could then just turn around and just take the one gunfight. So, as you said, it was a great bit of, I think, a bit of leading from the Thai team.
Yeah.
They were able to recognize that they needed control of the way onto the island quickly, which they got, and that was really why they won that map.
Doesn't help that Cambodia's general also died very early on.
I mean, you say that, but sometimes it's easier to lead if you're dead. Yeah. I mean, you know me well. I'm a great backseat gamer, but that's exactly what I expected the generals will be doing. You know, they go down and they just start looking through all the different perspectives and trying to coordinate the team.
Scoreboard is up. Thailand versus Cambodia. You can see, look at that. Tino PPT manages to just jump over Duckman's there with 10 kills in the
he had 7 in the last game, I think, so he went mad. We saw, I think of the first 6 kills, Tino was like 5 of them, 4 or 5 of them in that game. The same with Duckman's in the Miramar match, but it didn't just stop there. He didn't even get knocked. Like that, we saw Duckman's get 5 and then get knocked. Tino got 5 and then walked over and got 3 more. It was ridiculous on me.
Yes,
it was a great game.
So just before we go off there, I've just seen a very, very true comment in the chat. Thailand had unfair advantage as it was a home map. So very fair. So this is the bracket. You see Thailand advance, and that's the game that we're going to be coming up, the winners. However, we've just been informed that Philippines and Indonesia are currently at 2-2. So it looks
that's a big surprise for me. I was expecting that Indonesian roster to not necessarily wipe out the Filipino roster. The Philippines definitely has some players that are performing at an international level, but Indonesia has the core of Aerowolf that have been so successful in the international level that I was sort of expecting would be able to sort of sway the balance in their favor. I still think they'll come out and win the series, but the fact that it's gone to 3-2 is really favorable for Thailand, who may be looking at this and thinking, we can just 3-0 everyone.
Yeah. So that's going to be an exciting game. But don't go anywhere. Thailand, they've managed to make their way through to the upper winners bracket. Cambodia, unfortunately, haven't got the way through, but they're not out yet. They've got a lower bracket to go to, and they will be fighting the loser of Indonesia versus the Philippines. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be bringing the next game to you right here over at GLL after this short break.